Biomechanics Assessment Task, Qualitative Analysis of Kinetic and Kinematic Concepts, the 3-point start, skill by Nathan Rhodes in K5. Week 2, Skill Selection and Link to Biomechanics. The skill I wish to analyze is the 3-point start. It's ideal for sprinters starting a 60 to 400 meter sprint without blocks. It's a practical way to start a sprint. The 3-point sprint start can be broken down into the following sections: standing up near the line and placing the stronger leg in front of the other, crouching down and placing the strongest foot so that the edge of your toes are about 1.5 of your feet length behind the starting line. With the knee of your back leg on the ground, position it alongside the ball of your foot with about a fist of space in between them. Extend your dominant side's hand so it is just behind the starting line with some weight on the fingertips as they hold your upper body in the air. Raise the hips that the angle of the front leg is 90 degrees and the angle of the back leg is roughly 120. The weak leg's arm should be held near the thigh in a running position. Assume a relaxed state and put most of your body weight on the back legs. Don't lean forwards and only put slight force on the front arm. A sprinter could utilize biomechanics to adapt their training to focus on specific parts of the sport. It will allow an athlete to review and develop their running style and efficiency, leading to improved performance and precise ability when training and competing. Improving things such as a complete start or a drive phase in competition will allow coaches and athletes to introduce specific new strength and conditioning exercises and drills to better the athlete and their performance on race day. The 3-point start is important because it allows an athlete to accelerate well and quickly, reaching their maximum speed and running the best time possible without blocks. Sprints can be won in the first 10 steps, and the way an athlete starts the race determines how they finish it. World-class coaches and athletes recommend the following in order to successfully perform a 3-point start. As the starter says on your marks, the athlete should assume the following positions. Next, with the set position, the knees come upwards and this position is taken. As the starter says go, the athlete should begin the acceleration phase after pushing out of the 3-point start position. Here are the references. Week 3, Preparation and Planning of Analysis. In order to conduct my analysis, I need a willing participant and technology to share, explain, and analyze my biomechanics skill. A participant needs a camera to record, a computer to access videos and instructions, and a good pair of running shoes. The athlete should be considerate of their surroundings and the fact that they are accelerating and taking off with near 100% power. Athletes need to effectively warm up to relax and strengthen their muscles. They should be in an open, flat area. The skill should look like an athlete following the aforementioned steps in order to perform a 3-point start, accelerate and successfully complete an efficient sprint. The athlete will record their data by videotaping 10 by 30 meter sprints. They will use wide angles, and the footage will be timed as well to judge the performance. The footage will be reviewed and the technique will be analyzed to prove the effectiveness of landing the 3-point start. The 3-point start helps an athlete to reach their highest potential velocity as quickly as possible. Implementing the correct technique will improve an athlete's time and their understanding of how to successfully start and improve anywhere between a 20 to 400 meter sprint. Below is an explanation of how forces might apply to this skill. Week 4, Qualitative and Quantitative Data Observations. Refer to slide 2 and 4 for an explanation of the key characteristics and what the skill is supposed to look like. Talia should have a correct positioning of her body segments, explode out of the blocks in a fluid movement with a good angle of attack, and create upward force and begin to slowly rise against gravity into an upright position. This will allow her to accelerate as best as possible and overcome the moment of inertia to speed up. Talia followed the steps fairly well with a consistent and effective crouch position. Her angle was about 57 degrees in her initial attempts, and she was able to drive out of the blocks at about 50 degrees after feedback. This minimizes external forces and allows her to maximize her power and momentum. She used the advice to improve her technique, allowing friction and drag to decrease as she focused on contacting the ground with only the balls of her feet and gradually increasing her angle of attack with each step out of the start. By the end, her start was consistent and proficient. Over 15 videos and well over 20 photos of Talia performing the 3-point start allowed this analysis to occur. In order to draw an accurate conclusion, better conditions would be needed, such as being on a track, in the open, with multiple camera angles, and better shoes and conditions. For the skill, Talia's success rate was roughly 60%. See this slide for inertia force summation and an explanation of technique and its links to force summation throughout sport. Week 5, Kinetic Analysis and Newton's Laws of Motion. The predominant motion in the 3-point start is rectilinear. The forces acting are gravity, inertia, acceleration, ground reaction, air resistance, muscular elasticity, friction, and action of muscular contraction during the skill. Newton's laws of inertia: the sprinter applies enough force to change its momentum and inertia is overcome as linear motion begins. The sprinter creates an impulse through force summation and correct technique in order to change their mass's velocity and continue to accelerate in a linear direction. Newton's laws of action and reaction: the greater the force applied by the sprinter, the faster and harder they will move towards the finish line. Angular and linear motion, momentum and impulse, can be linked to a 3-point start. The movement is rectilinear and they use an impulse force to create an equal and opposite reaction in order to overcome inertia and start accelerating. The third law of motion explains the way which opposite forces are applied against an athlete. Because of this, a runner needs to apply force opposing the direction of the finish line. If they push down, they will jump. If they push horizontally, they will fall. So they must apply pressure correctly in order to move forward efficiently. Newton's laws are present in my chosen skill because a sprinter performing a 3-point start must create an impulse force to form an equal and opposite reaction to overcome inertia and start accelerating. They should maximize their force, increasing muscular technique and strength. Newton's laws can be utilized to improve the performance of an athlete performing a 3-point start by educating and training to counteract inertia and allow for maximum acceleration while sprinting. Newton's laws of motion can be used to modify sports for junior athletes, such as when players wear protective gear, play without tackling, or are taught to behave in a manner that prevents injury of themselves or other athletes. Week 6 and 7, Motion and Kinematic Analysis. Momentum describes the quantity of motion a particular body of mass has. It's equal to mass times velocity. Impulse is the defining moment when force is applied to change the motion of an object. Impulse is important because that moment of force summation controls how well an athlete performs a task. It is a crucial moment of muscular power and the transfer of momentum through collision. A larger impulse can increase the distance and/or velocity of an athlete or the ball, person, or object they are hitting. Using the tracker software, it was determined that Talia's speed was 6.845 meters per second as well as velocity. Her acceleration was 31.92 meters per second. Her length of path was 2.506 meters, and her momentum was 6.845 kilograms meters per second. Week 8, Projectile Motion and Error Correction. The projectile is Talia's body as she performs a sprint. The purpose of this projectile is to travel a set distance as fast as physically possible, done in a straight line. Hence, the purpose of the projectile in a sprint is a combination of both accuracy and distance. The relative projection height is 0 meters as the athlete begins their sprint knelt on the floor. The center of mass is roughly 60 to 80 centimeters above the ground, so this could also be considered. In a 3-point start, the human projectile has an extremely low height of release. Because of this, the optimal angle of release will be just around 50 degrees. The speed of release is intended to be the summation of the entire body's strength. Maximum force and correct technique is used to decrease the moment of inertia and accelerate. Upon viewing Talia's parabola of trajectory, it's seen that she has a very good angle of release. Her body works well as a projectile. Her contact time creates a decent impulse, but it may increase friction and resistance over the course of a roughly 13-second 100-meter sprint. To improve her speed, she should increase her impulse by strength training and doing muscular conditioning. In these exceptional circumstances, the sprint starts were performed in confined space. With appropriate shoes, clothes, and surface, Talia's sprinting would be analysed with better, more conclusive and constructive criticisms. Lastly, you can refer to the attached slides for a video of all of my notes. Thank you for reading and for watching today. I hope you have a good day.